Hi, everybody. Folks, I want to talk about a few things today. And it's going to get heated. Folks, I want to talk about COVID for a moment, and we will move on. And no, I'm not going to say that it doesn't exist. But what I will say is that it's not as dangerous as you are led to believe. You see, this scamdemic is not about your safety. It's not about the virus at all. The lockdowns are not about your health because the government doesn't care about you and your health. Because you are classified as nothing more than an asset, nothing more than livestock to be utilized as income for the machines that are our governments. This scamdemic and all the lockdowns that come with it is about you. It's about a test by the global elites to see if they can finally pull the pin on the grenade that is the Great Reset, or some other scam like it. To elaborate, they want to know if you are ready. And they are training you to be ready. How far will you go when you are scared? They own the media. They can tell you whatever they want. Most of us would do anything to protect our families and those that are closest to us. I mean, I would kill for any one of my kids to save them, if that meant I had to. And I think most parents would. This just means that you're not a psychopath. And I would say that most of us aren't. We are all given this narrative that it's for the greater good. And the fear-mongering by the media put just enough of a bug in your ear to give you doubt and trigger an emotional response. Most of us weigh the consequences of going along with the restrictions against the potential consequence of getting COVID or having a loved one get it and die. This is normal. Human beings will go to extreme lengths to avoid loss. They will expend considerably more effort on avoiding a loss than they will be willing to expend for a potential gain. Take, something trivial. Let's take sales as an example. People can be getting the best deal of their lives on any product in the world. Yet if there's any doubt in their mind that it may be a net loss to them, they will never buy what you're selling. And it doesn't matter what the loss is. Financial loss, loss of time, loss of somebody you care about, that's a pretty big one. So we will do anything to avoid a loss. And that's part of human nature. And that's part of what they're counting on. If you think for a moment that the leaders of this world, or those pulling their strings, or more importantly, their purse strings, don't know this type of human psychology too, then you're naive. And please, send me a message because I got a bridge to sell you if you want. It's likely not the fault of those that are naive and don't understand. They don't even realize it. Most of us don't realize that we've been conditioned. We have been conditioned since childhood, and our emotions play a big part in risk-taking. But that's another story in and of itself. I don't want to get too far off topic. But this doesn't apply to everyone. It doesn't apply to all people, as some studies show. Approximately 1.5 to 2.5% of the world's population may be psychopathic. Now, hold on a minute. So, that just depends on various different tests and things like that. But anyway, I'm not going to get into the technical details of that. And this doesn't mean that there's a whole bunch of serial killers out there that are, ready to kill at a moment's notice. But think about that for a moment. If we take the average, say 2%, that's 1 in 50 people. That's a lot of psychopaths out there. Now, cheer up and stay calm. Most psychopaths are functional on some level, and many are highly functional, and many are highly successful. They have a unique set of skills, and typically never have emotions to get in the way of decision making. Now, that's not to say that they don't have any emotions. They just don't let them get in the way. Many highly successful people have a level of psychopathic traits. There's a high number of these people in Wall Street, in medicine, politics, and other high risk and power positions. As a matter of fact, they gravitate towards these types of power positions naturally. Having power makes them feel good. You ever met an investment banker? So the chances are very high that there is a very high percentage of people in positions of power, much higher than 1 in 50, and I'd be willing to bet my life on that. But even at 2%, let's figure that out. That means in the House of Commons in the UK, there are no less than 13 psychopaths running that country. In Canada, 7 in the Canadian Parliament. In the U.S. House of Representatives, no less than 9. In the U.S. Senate, no less than 2. Think about that for a minute. You have people that don't let their emotions or any type of empathy get in the way of decision making. Now, as I mentioned before, psychopaths are highly drawn to these positions and are always found to be in a much higher than the percentage than the average population. So it's likely much higher than 2%. I've just talked about 2%. Now, I want to give you some insight into these people and a few little, the literature is, there's infinite literature out there on psychopaths and psychopathy. Have a look at some. I encourage people to do research and do some reading for sure. Now, as I said, I want to give you some insight into these people in these power positions. Because you may be thinking, okay, so what? What the hell is your point? And I will get back to the point soon, I promise. But I think it's important insight into the minds of many of the people in power today. And I think it's important that you understand that. It's important because many of us believe that the government and politicians have our best interests in mind. Well, that's supposed to be their job after all, isn't it? That's what we elected them for. I'd like you to all consider something that I feel is important when it comes to psychopaths. And this next problem here should give you some insight into the way they think. Now, if you look at for example, a problem that's commonly used. So it's called the trolley problem. Now, in the first scenario, we have a trolley moving uncontrollably down the track, and we see 5 people tied to the track on one side and 1 person tied on another branch of the track. Most of the average non-psychopathic people out there, when faced with this type of choice, would flip the switch that would unfortunately kill 1 person, but still leave the other 5. Or you could leave it and kill the 5 and save the 1. It's, either way, but I think most people out there would sacrifice the 1 to save the many. Now let's take a look at the second scenario. You have the same trolley, uncontrolled, on a single line with 5 people tied to it, and a really large man standing on the bridge in front of the trolley. Your choice is to push this large man off the bridge in front of the trolley to save the 5 people further down the track, or do nothing and the 5 people will die. Which do you choose? It's a little bit of a different problem. Presents a little bit of a moral dilemma. Now, the outcome if you push the person off the bridge or flip the switch is the same. 1 person dies to save 5. But does that second scenario make you think? Does it give you some pause to consider the hands-on murder of an individual to save 5 people? To a psychopath, these are the same problems. The consideration of the hands-on murder of the guy at the top of the bridge doesn't even enter their minds. Same problem. Same thing. So now I put to you, sacrificing you to meet the objective is nothing to them, except maybe an afterthought while having drinks with their buddies later, but I would suspect you would not even be that. Even though we all know the lockdown measures don't apply to them, do as I say, not as I do. We've seen that in media, held them accountable, but nothing happens, right? The mainstream media does a great job of covering this up. They get a free pass. Do you think this is by coincidence or by design? But this is what our culture is becoming as well. It's becoming more psychopathic in nature. The media, schools, video games, the lack of parenting, because let's face it, we're all working. Parents are working. They're away from their kids. And maybe it's a little different now. We get to spend more time with our kids. But at any rate, all of these are some of the causes. Our population is becoming and growing more psychopathic in nature. Now, I want to quote from Friedrich Nietzsche. And my pronunciation of the name is probably a bit off, but the quote is great. The great epochs of our lives are the occasions when we gain the courage to rebaptize our evil qualities as our best qualities. Boy, I have seen that in society even over the last 20 years. Boy, have we done this in spades. Let me talk about some of the common character traits of psychopaths. I think you'll find some of these, you might be familiar with some of these. You may have seen these in certain people, perhaps in government. Socially irresponsible behavior, disregarding or violating the rights of others. Boy, does that sound familiar. Inability to distinguish between right and wrong. How about Trudeau and the We Foundation? Difficulty with showing remorse or empathy. No apologies. A tendency to lie often. Wow, if you've ever watched a question period with the Liberals answering questions across the aisle, that one's a big one. Manipulating and hurting others. Bold, egotistical, impulsivity, charismatic and charming. Does this sound like any politicians you know? The people in power positions don't care about the cattle in their care, aka you. They will sacrifice you like a cow going to the slaughter to ensure the steak gets put on the table for those they see fit to eat at it. And make no mistake, those of you watching, this will likely never be you sitting at the table with the leaders of this world. The leaders of our world have ever increasingly seen themselves not as accountable to people, but to the corporations that line their pockets. They feel they know what's best for you, and you should just listen, and you should just get back into your corner, you stupid child. They know what's best. When the Great Reset comes, and you have been conditioned enough, you won't own anything. You won't be allowed to. You'll be the peasants. But don't take my word for it. Go ahead. Read some of the material from some of these multi-billionaires like Klaus Schwab and his COVID-19 Great Reset. The World Economic Forum's ideas in his book, The Fourth Industrial Revolution. Have a close look at Klaus Schwab and some of these other World Economic Forum members. I mean, let's have a look at another influential personality like George Soros. A traitor to his own people in World War II. He doesn't even deny it or have any remorse for it. He was a Nazi collaborator in his youth. He saw an opportunity with the Nazis to get ahead, and he took it. Damn the people. He's made this clear in some of his interviews, and I'm surprised they're still up so you can actually view them on social media. They're still available, and they haven't been censored yet. He avoids taxes by sheltering his assets and his investments in foreign countries so that he doesn't have to pay anything. Now, I know that's not a big surprise that many of the rich elitists do these sorts of things. But you want to talk about a man with no remorse? If there's ever been a more clear-cut case of a psychopath in a position of influence and power, well, I haven't seen a better one. He provided financial support for the rioters in the United States while they were burning down businesses, killing police, attacking people that had a different perspective, a different point of view, because his point of view and what he wants to do to destabilize and rebuild governments, and those are his ideas. He will do anything to accomplish those goals. But this is just all to set the stage. You want more proof that these rich bastards don't care about you. Their hypocrisy is incredible. The hypocrisy of the World Economic Forum members is laughable. They talk about things in their meetings like climate change, and then they show up to these meetings in private jets and luxury cars worth more than your homes. So what are some of their ideas? Well, for starters, you, peasants, are stupid. Far too stupid to manage yourselves. We can manage you better. Let us tell you how to live. You need to live on less, while the smart ones, us, will sail around the world on our yachts and enjoy the fruits of your labors. No more ownership. Take people's jobs, take people's businesses. I mean, we see that now. The COVID-19 thing was the Great Reset. Why do you think he wrote that book? It's a perfect opportunity to implement essential parts of their plan. You see that now with the huge unemployment and shutting down businesses, non-essential businesses, like any small ma and pa shops. You are not part of the elite. You are not part of the Walmarts, the Amazons. You do not deserve support. You don't deserve anything. But the liquor stores, they can remain open so you can drink yourself into a stupor and forget about the fact that you've lost everything. Or maybe not. Maybe you won't forget about that fact. Maybe you'll take your own life because you have nothing left. And I mean, don't worry about it. You'll be forgotten. Because the mainstream media doesn't want to report about the thousands of people that have attempted or succeeded at suicide as a result of the lockdowns. Never mind the increased abuses that are happening in some homes as a result of people drinking heavily and using drugs. The domestic violence, depression, etc. You don't hear about any of this. It's all kept under wraps because you don't need to know that their COVID cure is worse than a disease. It's all part of the plan. So let's get back to the topic at hand. They'll get rid of paper money. You've seen the trend for that for a long time. Or use tap on your card. Use phone apps now to pay for things at the stores. It's great. We wouldn't want germs spreading. Once all the money is digital, how will you survive when they tell you, hey, you don't get to choose what you're going to do for work? What you will be doing for work instead of deciding for yourself is, well, whatever they tell you. And make no mistake, that's what they are going to do. They're conditioning everyone to be dependent on government handouts. When this becomes the norm and everyone is receiving their paycheck from the government, what then? Our government and the governments around the world do not want to have to listen to your crap. And certainly, they don't want your opinion. So when they are paying you, you will do as you're told. It's not unlike, the communist countries like the old school USSR, when everybody earned the same paycheck and just did as they're told. You can see this in places like Cuba still today. You can be a janitor. You'll be a mechanic. You'll be a farmer. What? You don't like this? That's okay. No government check for you. Starve and see how you like it. And you'll be homeless as well because you can't own a home, so you're not allowed to own anything. The World Economic Forum idolizes companies like Amazon, YouTube, Airbnb. The idea of providing a service without actually owning anything? Oh, man. What a great idea. That's what you will be. A thing that owns nothing, but will provide a service. But for the rich, along with the 2,000 or so hypocrites at the World Economic Forum, they will get a free pass. The wealth of individual peasants will be spread to them and other corporations. Part of that wealth will be you. It will be the governments that will tell you where to work. You will be the assets of these companies. Why will the tech companies and major corporations stand behind this? Well, because of free labor. Governments will tell you where to work. You'll work here, you'll work there. What corporation wouldn't say no to free government-provided labor? Corporate leaders will get a free pass. And make no mistake, the wealthy will be allowed to own anything they want. But you, not you. They will be part of the global elite. The plans for a unified system of government globally, because the hypocrites think you are incapable of understanding what's best for you and your family. Again, you need to shut up and listen, you peasant. And to that I say, it's better to die on your feet than to live on your knees. I will never bow to the tyranny of someone we elected to do what's right for us, only to have them turn and bite the hand that fed them. That's happened here in Alberta with Mr. Kenney. It's time to get rid of corrupt political parties. I encourage everyone, the next time you vote, if there ever is a next time, vote for an independent, no matter who it is, any independent, or run yourself. You are allowed, and it's amazingly cheap. I've looked into it. It's not particularly costly. Vote for anyone that is not part of the corrupt system or a corrupt political party. The people need to take control back. Individual people, ordinary people, people that understand me, you, the little guy out there, that knows what it's like to not have a paycheck, that knows what it's like to lose their job. Have any of the politicians had to suffer? Have any of them lost their job? Have any of them gone without a paycheck for a few months and wondered whether they're going to be able to pay their mortgage or their bills or even be able to buy food? Because heaven forbid, money is the one thing in our society you cannot live without. In what world do rich, privileged politicians that have never had to struggle a day in their lives, and I know I'm making a general statement here, because some of them, there are a few out there that have. In what world are these people connected with the common men and women in our society? Other than being the same species, but I'm not even entirely sure of that. Being a politician should never and was never intended to be a career, but a civic duty. A duty to the people. And when faced with tyranny, it is all of our duties to resist and push back on our elected officials. Now, I'm not condoning violence. This is not a call to violence. But if they don't listen, then don't give them a moment's peace. These are people that are out in public, and they feel they have no accountability to you. And let's face it, there's no system. I can't vote them out, neither can you. Let them know. That's one thing you can do. These guys are human beings too. And if they can cave to pressures of the media, then they can cave to the pressures of us too. Your country belongs to you, not to the corporations, not to the politicians. It's easy to give up our freedoms. Getting them back from those we've given them up to, that is hard. But nothing in this life that is worth doing is easy. Who told you life was supposed to be easy? Die on your feet and don't live in servitude on your knees. Risk everything to be heard, or risk nothing and live in silence forever as a slave. The choice is yours. Hey guys, hope you enjoyed the show. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you can get notified of any new episodes coming out. Should have another one here coming up soon. Hit the like button and make sure you leave your comments below. That really helps out with the old YouTube algorithms. Another episode coming very soon. Hope you enjoyed. Have a great day.